Hello everyone, welcome to Enviro Pioneers. In this video, we will understand the process of cloud formation and will also learn the classification of clouds based on their appearance and the altitude at which they are formed. So, the clouds are defined as the visible aggregate of the minute droplets of water or tiny crystals of ice or a mixture of both, and they are very prominent features in the sky. In meteorology, they are very important because they provide a visual indication of the atmospheric condition. These clouds are a form of condensation which is produced when the water vapor condenses in the atmosphere. And the most important cloud forming process is the adiabatic cooling. As we have learned in the earlier videos of this playlist, that as sunlight warms the Earth's surface, the air which is in immediate contact with the surface, it becomes warm. And the warm, moist air, it rises up in the atmosphere because it is less dense than its surrounding. And these rising air parcels are referred as the thermals, and when they reaches the lifting condensation level, the condensation starts taking place, and this condensation refers to when the water vapor changes to liquid, and the result of the condensation is the formation of the dew, fog, or the clouds in the atmosphere. Each type of condensation, whether it is dew, fog, or cloud, they are different from each other, but they all are formed when two conditions are met. First condition is that for any condensation to occur, the air must be saturated, and this saturation occurs when the air is cooled to its dew point. Dew point is the temperature at which the water vapor in the atmosphere will start condensing, and it depends on the actual moisture content in the atmosphere. Suppose if we consider an air parcel, and depending upon its moisture content, the dew point is 18 degrees Celsius. And when this air parcel is near to the surface, its temperature is 30 degrees Celsius. Suppose this air parcel rises, and due to rise, it will expand and adiabatic cooling will occur. We know that adiabatic cooling is at the rate of 10 degrees Celsius per 1000 meter, or we can say 1 degree Celsius per 100 meter. So at the height of 600 meter, the temperature of the air parcel, it is 24 degrees Celsius. So 30 minus 6, 24 degrees Celsius per 600 meter. Dew point is still 18 degrees Celsius. When it further moves to the height of 1200 meter, there is further decrease of 6 degrees Celsius for 600 meter. So now the temperature of the air parcel is 18 degrees Celsius, which is equal to its dew point temperature. So when the air is cooled to its dew point, saturation occurs and the condensation starts taking place. And this condensation may also occur when the sufficient water vapor is added to the layer of the atmosphere. So, in this condition, the atmosphere will attain the state of equilibrium where the rate of evaporation is equal to rate of condensation. Second condition which is required for the condensation is there must be a surface on which water vapor can condense. So when the dew forms, means when the condensation occurs at the very low altitude, the objects at or near the ground, they serve this purpose. For example, we can see the dew formation on the blades of the grass. But when this condensation occurs above in the altitude, the tiny particles in the atmosphere, they serve as the surfaces on which the water vapor can condense, and these tiny particles are referred as the cloud condensation nuclei. Cloud condensation nuclei include microscopic dust, smoke, and the salt particles, and these are very important in the cloud formation because if they are absent, a relative humidity in excess of 100% will be required to produce the cloud droplets. Because in this condition, in absence of the cloud condensation nuclei, at very low temperature, the water molecules having very low kinetic energy, they will stick together in tiny clusters to produce the cloud droplets. But in the troposphere, the relative humidity rarely exceeds 100% because in the lower atmosphere, these tiny particles are present in abundant amount. These cloud condensation nuclei in the atmosphere may be of two types: hygroscopic and hydrophobic. Hygroscopic means water seeking, and hydrophobic means water repelling. So the particles that are the most effective sites for the condensation, they are called hygroscopic nuclei because they attract the water molecules. For example, if we see in our daily life the common food items such as the crackers or the cereals, they are hygroscopic. In the rainy season, if they are exposed to the humid air, they quickly absorb the moisture and become stale. Similarly, in the atmosphere, salt particles are the example of the hygroscopic nuclei. These are released into the atmosphere when the sea spray evaporates over the ocean. This is the representation of the cloud formation in the atmosphere. This is dust particle, that is the cloud condensation nuclei, and these are the water vapor in the atmosphere. In the presence of the cloud condensation nuclei, the water vapor they begin to condense around it. And as they grow, they form a cloud droplet. And this cloud, it is the aggregate of many cloud droplets. And when the cloud condensation nuclei are hygroscopic, water droplets begin to form at the relative humidity less than 100%. And the cloud droplets that are formed on the hygroscopic particles, such as the sea salt, they are generally much larger than those that grow on the hydrophobic nuclei. These hydrophobic particles are not very effective as the condensation nuclei, but the cloud droplets will form on them when the relative humidity reaches 100%. And the dust storm, volcanic eruption, and pollens are the major sources of the cloud condensation nuclei on land. And in addition to these, hygroscopic nuclei are also introduced into the atmosphere as a byproduct of combustion from the sources like the forest fire, automobiles, and the coal burning furnaces. And because each of the cloud condensation nuclei they have the wide range of affinities for the water, the cloud droplets of various sizes are formed and they coexist in the same cloud, and this is a very important factor in the formation of precipitation. When condensation starts taking place on the cloud condensation nuclei, initially the growth of the cloud droplet is rapid. But the rate of growth quickly decreases because the available water vapor in the atmosphere it is consumed by the large number of the competing droplets, and the result is the formation of a cloud which consists of billions of tiny water droplets, and each of the droplet is so small that they remain suspended in the air. And if you notice, these are the moisture droplets and this is the typical raindrop. So the size difference between the cloud droplet and a raindrop is very huge. So from this we can have an idea that the condensation alone is not responsible for the formation of the raindrop large enough to fall to the ground without evaporating. There are other processes apart from the condensation that are responsible for formation of the raindrop or for the precipitation. So we will discuss all those processes in detail in the upcoming video of the precipitation. Now coming to the cloud classification, in 1803, Luke Howard, an English naturalist, he published a cloud classification in which he classified the clouds on the basis of two criteria. Their form means their appearance and their height. So we can see on the basis of the appearance, the clouds are classified as the cirrus, stratus, cumulus, and the clouds of vertical development. Cirrus clouds refer to those which are having the wispy or the feathery appearance. Stratus cloud name is given to those which are in the form of sheets or the layers. And cumulus name is given to those which are in the form of the globular masses. And based on the altitude at which these are formed, they can be classified under low, middle, or high clouds. So let us see about these clouds in detail. First, we have the cloud forms. So the clouds are classified based on how they appear when we view from the Earth's surface. There are three basic forms or shapes of the cloud: cirrus cloud, cumulus cloud, and the stratus cloud. Cirrus is a Latin word meaning curl or a filament. So these clouds are present in the higher altitude. They are white and very thin. They may be separated or detached and they form delicate well like patches or extended wispy fibers, and they often have a feathery appearance. So this well, it refers to a transparent piece of cloth that is mainly used by the brides to cover their head. And this cirrus cloud, they have their appearance similar to the well, and they appear to have very soft and smooth texture. Next is the cumulus cloud. In the Latin, cumulus means heap or pile. So these cumulus cloud, they consist of globular individual cloud masses. Normally they have a flat base and appear as rising domes or the towers. And these clouds are described as having a cauliflower like structure. Next is stratus cloud, that are described as the sheets or the layers, means strata, that cover much or all of the sky. So there are no distinct individual cloud unit, but there may be possibility of minor breaks in the layer. So all the clouds that are present in the atmosphere, they have one of these three basic forms, or they can be the combination or modification of them. Second aspect of the cloud classification is cloud height. And on this basis, three levels are recognized: high, middle, and low. So, first we have the high clouds, which are formed in the highest and the coldest region of the troposphere. So, these are generally present above 6,000 meter or 20,000 feet. And as the temperature in this region is usually below freezing, so the high clouds, they are generally composed of the ice crystals or super cooled water droplets. Then we have the middle clouds, which are present in the height from 2000 meter to 6000 meter, and they may be composed of the water droplet or the ice crystals depending upon the time of year and the temperature profile of the atmosphere. Then we have the low clouds, means which form near to the earth's surface. So these are formed up to the altitude of the 2000 meter, and these are generally composed of the water droplets. So on the basis of height, the clouds can be classified as the low clouds, middle clouds, and the high clouds. Low clouds are present up to the altitude of 2000 meter. High clouds are present above 6000 meter, and the middle clouds are present in the range of 2000 to 6000 meter. But these altitudes which we just saw, they may vary somewhat depending on the season of the year and the latitude. For example, at the high latitudes and during the cold winter month, these high clouds, they can occur at the lower altitudes. मीन्स जो हमने 2000 6000 देखा, इसमें थोड़ा सा वेरिएशन आ सकता है डिपेंडिंग कि कौन सा सीजन है ईयर का और किस लैटिट्यूड पे हम हैं. And there are some clouds which extend vertically in more than one height range. So these are referred as the clouds of vertical development. So the clouds are classified as being high, middle, low, or vertically developed. Now we will learn about each of these clouds in detail one by one. Now let us start with the high clouds, means the clouds which are present at the altitude above 6000 meter. So these high clouds, they include cirrus, cirrostratus and cirrocumulus. अगर आप यहाँ पे नोट करो तो जो ये नेम है cirrostratus या फिर cirrocumulus, that is actually the combination of two types, cirrus plus cumulus, means the cirrus cloud which is present in the form of the globular patch. Then we have the cirrostratus, that is the combination of the cirrus plus stratus cloud, means the cirrus cloud which is present in the form of a sheet. So in the high clouds we have the cirrus, cirrocumulus and the cirrostratus. And at this high altitude, because of the low temperature and small quantities of the water vapor present, all the high clouds, they are thin, white, and they are mainly composed of the ice crystals. Within the high clouds, first is cirrus cloud. Ci, it is used to represent the cirrus clouds. So cirrus clouds are detached clouds which are composed of white, delicate, icy filaments. So it is point to remember that cirrus clouds are always composed of the ice crystals, and their transparent character, it depends upon the degree of separation of the crystals. And because of the wind flowing in the upper atmosphere, these fibrous ice trails, they may bend or they may get curled. So the cirrus clouds, which have the hooked filaments, they are referred as the mare's tails because they resemble a horse tail. Next high cloud is the cirrostratus. CS is used to represent the cirrostratus cloud. So these clouds are the transparent, whitish cloud veil with a fibrous or sometimes very smooth appearance, and they may cover much or all of the sky. Sometimes the cirrostratus clouds are very thin and transparent that it is difficult to outline them. But these clouds can be easily recognized because these produces halo around the sun or moon. Then we have the cirrocumulus clouds, which is represented as CC, and these appear as the white patches, which is composed of very small cells or ripples. So these small globules, which may be merged or separate, they are arranged in a regular pattern. And this pattern is commonly called mackerel sky. Mackerel is a type of fish, and this pattern which is formed in the sky, it is having the resemblance similar to the pattern formed by the fish scale. Generally, the clouds which are formed at the high altitude, they are not involved in the precipitation. So they are not the precipitation makers. But when the cirrus clouds they form the cirrocumulus cloud, they are the indication of the stormy weather. And based on this observation, there is a phrase which is common in fishermen that mackerel scales and mare's tails make lofty ships carry low sails. As this mackerel scales refer to cirrocumulus cloud and mare's tails it refers to cirrus cloud, and the cirrus and the cirrocumulus cloud formation in the sky, it is often followed by a storm in a day or two. So if the fishermen observe the mare's tail or the mackerel scales in the sky, it is an indication to them that there is possibility of increase in the wind speed, and it required the sailors to lower their sails. Next classification we have is of middle clouds, means the clouds which are formed in the middle altitude range in the height from 2000 meter to 6000 meter, and they are described with the prefix alto. Alto means middle. So it include two type, altostratus and altocumulus. So alto it is for middle, and when we are saying stratus it means it is in the form of sheet, and when we are saying cumulus it means it is in the form of the globular patch. So the altocumulus clouds are formed as the large patches which is composed of the rounded masses or the rolls that may or may not merge. These clouds they are generally composed of the water droplet, and it is easy to identify the individual cell within these clouds. But this altocumulus they are most easily confused with the cirrocumulus and the stratocumulus. So cirrocumulus they are smaller and less dense than the altocumulus, while the stratocumulus which is present in the lower altitude, they are thicker and larger in comparison to the altocumulus. Next is the altostratus. This is the name given to a formless layer of the grayish cloud which cover all or a large portion of the sky. And when there is altostratus cloud, the sun is visible through these cloud as a bright spot. But altostratus do not produce halos around the sun or moon. जबकि जब हम सिरोस्टेटस पढ़ रहे थे वहां पे हमने देखा था कि सिरोस्टेटस क्लाउड्स जब होते हैं तो हेलो प्रोड्यूस होता है, बट एल्टोस्टेटस में ये जो सन या मून है दे विल appear as a bright spot but there will be no halo. And when this altostratus clouds cover the sky, there is possibility of infrequent precipitation in the form of the light snow or drizzle. Formation of the altostratus cloud, it is commonly associated with the warm fronts. So as the front approaches, these clouds may get thickened into a dark gray layer of the nimbostratus. So nimbostratus, it is capable of producing enormous amount of rainfall in the form of steady, continuous rain. Next, we have the low clouds which are present in the altitude less than 2000 meter. So these include stratus, stratocumulus, and the nimbostratus. So first is the stratus cloud, which refers to the uniform layer of cloud which frequently cover much of the sky, and sometimes it may produce the light precipitation. So these stratus clouds are white to light gray in color, and they have very uniform base, but when scalloped bottom appear in the stratus cloud, as it is represented here, this is the scalloped bottom. So when these type of structures are developed in the stratus cloud, which appear as the long parallel rows or the broken globular patches, these types of cloud are referred as the stratocumulus cloud. These stratocumulus clouds, they have the appearance very similar to the altocumulus, but these clouds are located lower in the sky, and they consist of broken patches which are much larger than those of altocumulus. So there is a very simple way to distinguish between the stratocumulus and altocumulus, that you point your hand in the direction of an individual cloud mass. So if the cloud is about the size of your thumbnail, it is altocumulus. But if the cloud is of the size of your fist, then it is a stratocumulus cloud. Then we have the nimbostratus clouds, which derive their name from the Latin word nimbus and stratus. Nimbus means rain cloud, and stratus means to cover with a layer. So as you can see, these nimbostratus clouds, they are very dark in color, and they are one of the chief precipitation producers. These nimbostratus clouds, they are generally formed in the stable condition when the air is forced to rise either along a front or with the help of the convergence. So this forced ascent of the stable air, it leads to the formation of a stratified cloud layer, which is large horizontally in comparison to its thickness. And the precipitation associated with the nimbostratus cloud, it is generally light to moderate, but it is for the longer duration and widespread. Apart from high clouds, middle clouds, and the low clouds, we also have the clouds of vertical development. Means the clouds which have their base in the low height range, but they extend upward into the middle or the high altitudes, and they are referred as the clouds of vertical development. These vertically developed clouds, they are closely related and are associated with the unstable air, and they include cumulus cloud and the cumulonimbus clouds. So the cumulus clouds are the individual masses that develop into the vertical domes or towers, the top of which resemble a cauliflower. And these clouds are often formed on the clear days when unequal surface heating causes the parcel of air to rise convectively above the lifting condensation level. So these cumulus clouds, they are very easy to identify because they have a cauliflower-like shape and a very flat bottom. So this flat bottom, it represents the lifting condensation level. As this cumulus cloud is formed because of the convective heating, you may notice an increase in the cloudiness in the afternoon as the solar heating intensifies. So these small cumulus clouds, they are referred as the cumulus humilis, and they are mainly formed on the sunny days, and they rarely produce appreciable precipitation. So they are referred as the fair weather clouds. These cumulus clouds may grow dramatically in height under proper circumstances. So, mainly in the unstable atmosphere, once this upward movement is triggered, acceleration is very powerful, and the clouds with the great vertical extent are formed. So, as the cumulus enlarges, the top portion, it leaves the low height range, and this type of condition is referred as the cumulus congestus. तो जो स्टार्टिंग में फॉर्म हो रहे हैं क्लाउड छोटे छोटे पैचेस, उनको हम कहते हैं क्यूमुलस ह्यूमिलिस, बट इसका जो टॉप पोर्शन इनलार्ज होने लगता है, देन इसको हम कहते हैं क्यूमुलस कंजेस्टस. बट व्हेन द क्लाउड्स बिकम इवन मोर टावरिंग and rain begins to fall, it becomes a cumulonimbus cloud. So the cumulonimbus clouds, these are dark, dense, billowy clouds of considerable vertical extent in the form of the huge towers. So billowy, it refers to large, soft or airy appearance, as we can see in these images. When these clouds are formed in the later stage of development, the upper part it turns to be ice and they become fibrous. As this cumulonimbus cloud is formed in the unstable atmosphere, as this rising air reaches the tropopause, it spreads out in the shape of an anvil. And these cumulonimbus cloud may extend from a few hundred meters above the surface upward to 12 kilometers or at some places up to 20 kilometers. And these cumulonimbus clouds, they are also referred as the thunderstorm clouds because they produce heavy precipitation with accompanying lightning and thunder and sometimes also hail. Here we saw the top of these clouds, it spreads out in the shape of an anvil. So anvil, it is an iron block on which a blacksmith puts hot pieces of metal before shaping them with a hammer. So here we can see the top of the cumulonimbus cloud, it is similar to the anvil. These were the 10 basic cloud types, but in addition to the names given to these, adjectives may also be used to describe the variation of a particular cloud type. For example, the term uncinus, which has the meaning hook shaped, it is applied to the streaks of the cirrus cloud that are shaped like a comma resting on its side. So these are referred as the cirrus uncinus and they are precursors of the bad weather. The adjective fractus is used when the stratus or the cumulus clouds they appear to be broken into the smaller pieces. There are some clouds which have the rounded protuberances on their bottom surface, as we can see in these images. So, when such structures are present, the term mammatus is applied. And this configuration is usually associated with the stormy weather and the cumulonimbus clouds. The adjective lenticular is used for the lens shaped clouds, and these are common in the areas that have the rugged or the mountainous topography. And these are referred as the lenticular altocumulus. And these type of clouds are formed whenever the airflow undulates sharply in the vertical. And we can find their presence mostly on the leeward side of the mountains. So this was all in the cloud formation and the classification of cloud. All the content have been taken from the book The Atmosphere and Introduction to Meteorology. You can refer this book and also you can refer to the official website of the NOAA where the 10 basic clouds are described in detail. We will meet soon in the next video covering the concept of the fogs and dew. Thank you and best wishes.